the Chain Reaction Project is an initiative that I started with 3 friends in 2009. It's a non-profit organization that uses adventure as a platform to raise funds and awareness for different causes in the region. Oh, sorry, where do I point this? There we go. Oh, sorry, let's take this back a couple of slides. We'll get there, don't worry, we have 20 minutes. Okay, now this is my team here. Myself, Anina, Jazz, and Alex. And we met in 2009 when Jazz actually approached us to say, would you guys be interested in taking part in a 450-kilometer mountain bike race across Timor-Leste? Now, for those of you that are familiar with Timor-Leste or East Timor, it's a country that's been riddled with a very turbulent history. There was an assassination attempt on the president. And this mountain bike race was to go through 9 of the country's 13 districts. And so I thought, you know what, this is the perfect adventure. Yes, definitely sign me up. And so the 4 of us embarked on this Tour de Timor. And it was the inaugural Tour de Timor. So this was the first mountain bike race that Timor-Leste was holding. And the reason that they were holding it, it was called a Ride for Peace. And it was really to put Timor back on the map, but for the right reasons. And the more that we learned about the race, the more that we learned about Timor, the more we thought to ourselves, maybe we could use this adventure to do more than just race. Maybe we can do more than just go there and take pictures. Maybe, we can use this as a platform to raise awareness about Timor-Leste and a cause that resonated with the team, and also use this as a platform to raise funds for Malnutrition Center in Timor that we ended up working with. Now, if you look at the terrain of Timor-Leste, I think if I'd seen this picture before we signed up, I don't know that I would have gone ahead with it. It was a very tough race. But in that first effort, in those 2 months, we really surprised ourselves in the amount of support that we found here in Singapore. We raised about $50,000 from this race and a lot of media awareness for Timor-Leste and also our cause on the ground. And what was supposed to be a one-off adventure ended up, right now for me, a whole new career direction. I was working with Channel News Asia at the time. But we came back to Singapore, and people said, where are you going next? How can we be a part of this? And over the last 4 years, we've had almost 500 participants join us on over 10 adventures now. We've raised almost $500,000, which we've distributed to the 5 different charity partners that we work with. These are long-term partners that we are continuing to work with going forward as well. And in turn, these funds have benefited some 30,000 individuals across the 4 countries in which we operate. Now, a lot of people ask, what were the pivotal points, I was doing a magazine interview recently, and they asked, who inspires you, and I was thinking about it, and one clear name came to mind. Cecilia Flores Oibanda. She's the lady on the left. And Cecilia is the founder of Design Forum Foundation in the Philippines, which is one of the leading organizations in the fight against human trafficking. And the reason that Cecilia, to me, is so inspiring is, she was telling me her story, how Cecilia started out. She was a freedom fighter during the Marcos regime. And during that time, she was imprisoned for her role in opposing the government. And while in prison with her husband, she gave birth to 2 children. The first she named Kit, it's a nickname, but it's short for to capture. And the second is Mayala. Her daughter's name is Mayala, which means freedom in Tagalog. And she said to her, the hardest thing, the most degrading and humiliating thing was to have to raise your children in prison. And what she would do to show her kids life outside the prison walls is she would actually climb this tree that grew in the center courtyard of the prison, and with one child on her front and another on her back, so they could see life outside of the prison walls. And upon being released from prison, she met a survivor of human trafficking. And she said that girl's stories and her cries just made her realize that what she had gone through in prison, even raising her children in prison, was nothing compared to what the victims of human trafficking go through. And that was what, for her, made her decide that she was going to commit her life to the fight against human trafficking. And for me, while that is very inspiring, it's also quite overwhelming because I feel like as an individual, I have no idea how, first of all, to fully understand human trafficking, and then my role in, being a part of this solution. And then I look at people like Cecilia, and I think to myself, I'm never going to be that one at the forefront of this fight or in the trenches, and I'm not familiar enough with the issues, but how can I still make a difference, And Cecilia is just one of those great women, who are, well, they're so inspiring. It also makes me feel like, okay, now what do I do? But I had a conversation with Cecilia one day, and she said to me, well, I might never be another Cecilia, that you know what? I could stand behind her in her fight against human trafficking. That together with the other catalysts, with the Chain Reaction Project, the funds that we raise, the awareness that we raise, can still go towards making a difference. It's the same thing here with Rosaria Martins de Cruz. Rosaria is the Timorese director of Hiam Health. Hiam Health is a malnutrition rehabilitation center in Timor-Leste. And when we were in Timor, one of the things that she said to me that really struck me, and this was on the back of raising funds for Hiam Health, and she said, with tears rolling down her face, she said, I want my country to be like your country. I want my people to be like your people, healthy in their bodies, happy in their faces. And these are the individuals that I think, to me, I want to stand behind. And we're very much a part of why we decided to register the Chain Reaction Project as a non-profit organization, as opposed to just one-off adventures, and try to see what we could do to make a difference. Now, I think this, this slide that I used, and earlier when I talked about the impact that we've had, the reason that I brought that up is because for the first 27 years of my life, when I didn't know what to do, or I didn't know how to use my skill sets as a journalist, or my passion as an athlete, when I didn't know what to do with those to give back, I did nothing. Because I was really paralyzed by the enormous, I don't know what to do about malnutrition or human trafficking, so I did nothing, even though I've always wanted to give back. But in the past 4 years, when finally I decided, I'm going to take that first step, and I committed to it, in 4 years, together with our community of catalysts, we have managed to make a difference. And it was something that I never thought myself or my teammates capable of. And I think a lot of people sometimes underestimate their ability to be very powerful catalysts for change. Another thing too that I wanted to address is this idea of giving. And I know you're all here for a purposeful career talk, so don't worry, I will be bringing it home. But my reason for highlighting this is I think a lot of times people don't understand that giving itself is actually a skill set. To get good at giving, whether it's by sharing your skill sets and whatever is your occupation is at the moment, by taking it one step further, to benefit others. People expect sometimes that you give and you see results immediately. Or you give and you're going to know that it comes naturally to you, like a Christmas present. Oh, I know what to give this person. But it doesn't work like that. In the beginning, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And the more you practice giving, actually the better that you get at it, as weird as that sounds. In the beginning, when we donated, we donated a playground. And then we realized, at the end of the day, the children that the playground was meant to serve, they weren't even being fed enough. So what is the point of the playground? The whole thing is a journey. And my challenge to you guys today, sorry, this is not the most responsive clicker. There we go. Okay. Is to realize your potential to be a catalyst for change, but more specifically, is to think about what your skill sets are right now in your current jobs, or what your passion is. Maybe you're very passionate about cooking or baking, or you're a lawyer. My challenge is to say within the next 30 days, to think about how you can use your skill sets to benefit others. So for example, if you're a lawyer, even within Singapore, for example, AWARE, they deal a lot with women, domestic abuse. They often look for legal counsel in terms of advice for some of the women that come to them. We've got platforms like the Kind Exchange in Singapore that help to match volunteers with specific services and skill sets that are needed by the nonprofit sector on the other side. So in terms of a purposeful career, I would say you don't have to be the Cecilias or the Rosarias where you quit your job, start non-profits, go off and you know, fight these battles out there. But to think about in your own lives, on a day-to-day basis, how can you use your own careers, your own skill sets to benefit someone else? Sorry, this is not... Alex, do you want to help me from that end? I'm a bit over this clicker. We'll just go back to the last slide, which is to find a cause and have an effect. On that note, I just want to open it to questions, if anybody has any, on anything. But yeah, that is my challenge for today to you guys, to say in the next 30 days, can you think of something, you know, that you're passionate about or a skill set that you have, and then to use that to benefit others. Yes?
How does your family feel about the cause you have and the amount of energy you invest in this?
How does my family feel about this cause and the amount of energy that I invest in it? Well, in the beginning, they were quite worried. When I said I'm leaving Channel News Asia, I'm going to go set up a non-profit, they were like, no. Why don't you just do this on the side and you can stay? I was like, no, you know. So in the beginning, they were very worried. But I think that over the years, as they've seen, you know, that it is something we're very committed to. We work with schools now, we work with corporations, and they know it's not just a side project. You know, they've actually been very supportive. We have adventures that we run for the public. You know, and I think my family, at least one member has been on almost every trip that we've run. So they've come a very long way. They are very supportive now. I think my mother carries way more of my name cards in her handbag than I do. So, you know, but it's a process, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
First of all, I would like to say that your story is very important, and personally, I'm very interested in trafficking issues. Now, my question is that when you first set up this project, right, why did you register it as a non-profit organization, which mainly depends on donations? Why don't you register as like social enterprise that is not for profit, but you can potentially make money and have bigger impact?
So the question is, why did we register the Chain Reaction Project as a non-profit, which relies on donations, versus a social enterprise, for example, which can rely on a sort of dual model? Well, the first thing is actually a non-profit organization doesn't need to rely only on donations. And for us, the funds that we raise go directly to the charity partners that we work with, unless individuals specify that they want a donation to go to TCRP. What we do is the trips that we run and we organize for corporates and for schools, we do charge market rate, and that goes back to help cover operation and admin costs. So actually, while we are a non-profit organization, we rely very little on donations. And most of it, we try very hard to move away from a donation-based model, because our objective at the end of the day is to raise as much as we can for our charity partners, yeah. And we registered as a non-profit because we didn't want to get distracted from what our mission was about, and we didn't want to come to a point where if we register as a social enterprise and it's a for-profit, that we start to think too much in a for-profit mode that benefits us more than the partners we work with. And so we said, you know what, we're going to keep it non-profit, and that's the direction we want to stick with, yeah. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, I'll be around for a little while, so if you've got other questions, you know, feel free to. Thank you.